we are. Everybody relax. We are back. People were like, where were you? We take basically one day off the entire year on a weekday. That's not a holiday. We were traveling from All-Star. We did miss everyone. It's Kevin Pillar and Erik Kratz with me, Scotty Braun today. I'm actually going on a vacation soon, so you'll have some other hosts mixing it up tomorrow and next week.
Vacation? Scott,
where you headed?
Vacation?
Ibiza. I'm not going to say the TH. I say it with a Z.
It's not a TH or a Z. It's Ibiza.
I can't say that. So I'm just going straight America, Ibiza.
Ibiza, man. I need my visa for Ibiza.
Yeah. Hey, what did you think of the All-Star game, KP?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, obviously pitching stole the show, and I was happy to see a former teammate of mine in the minor leagues, a guy that I felt like was going to eventually get a chance to be on the stage. Miguel Vargas had an absolute bomb in that game. I think that was kind of the crime of the All-Star game, is him not winning the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking to the fans right now. The fans are the ones that voted for Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger went a single with 2 RBIs, won the MVP of the All-Star game. If you look back in 2018, what his stats were in that series, he won the MVP of that series too. So maybe Cody's got the gift for the people to vote him in. Although I saw some of the guys at the All-Star game, I'm like, how's that guy here? Are we voting on WAR?
Yes. Sometimes we are. Absolutely. A lot of people vote on WAR with awards too. But how was the show, Kratz? Because you were in there.
Tremendous show, tremendous environment as far as, like, obviously Philly fans did the whole booing every National League East opponent and Jordan Walker, booing the Yankees, kind of, all that stuff. But the energy in the stadium was incredible. And I thought live, the Sandlot recreation thing with the kids riding onto the field was incredible. I thought they did an incredible job. Lights, everything, like they did it big in Philly for sure.
Mm-hmm. Fox is so good at that when they've got their games and making it feel cinematic. Chef's kiss. Really well done.
Normally it gets lost though when you're at the game. Because, Fox is doing it for their production on TV. I didn't feel like they lost it at all. I mean, to me, it rivaled last year when I went to Atlanta and they did the Hank Aaron hologram or whatever you call that on the field, his iconic home run to beat Babe Ruth. Like that was super, super cool the way they did that. And so I was like, how's Philly going to upend this? And, like, watching the kids ride their bikes across the field, Freddie Freeman playing catch at first base. Like, it was really cool.
Kratzy, I didn't get a chance to watch every second of the game, including some of the introductions. And last time I was on, I made a request for the Philly fans to woo Mike Trout. Did they live up to it?
His first at bat, and his introduction was really epic. And you could see him, like, waiting, like, because it had this Liberty Bell that they ran through when they came out, and you could see him waiting. And then as soon as it was like, and from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, I mean, the crowd just started going. Like, I got chills thinking about it because I was like, holy cow, they did it. And then his first at bat was a little bit less, and then it went down from there. And, like, the game was really the sideshow because a lot of the other stuff that was going on. And that home run that Miguel Vargas hit went right over our head, hit the upper deck. We were in left field there, so that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was a dud. We can say it. It was not the most entertaining game out there. It was, pitching and strikeouts, which sometimes is cool if it's a pitcher's duel, but that's not what this is. And
it was a showcase game.
Weren't doing much. Yeah,
it was a kids. When KP gets to that age, if you go and watch high school kids in a showcase game, especially when you're talking about, like, the best of the best, pitching is always going to dominate the hitting because the hitting has zero approach to just go get a hit. It looked like every dude was coming out swang-a-langing. I mean, and there was a lot of, like, first pitch breaking ball, heater up above the zone. Like, Cease was prime example. Cease said he thought about throwing a first pitch changeup to Schwarber first pitch of the game, and And Verlander talked him out of it. He's like, nah, go right at him. And he was pumping gas.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the whole thing too is when the starting pitcher is mic'd up, and obviously Cease is already kind of a unique character to begin with, but to just kind of get his thought process, how his is probably how he's talking to himself on the mound. I do love that part of the All-Star game. You got to be a little bit cautious though if you're a starting pitcher and really trying to allow the opposing batters to really understand what you're doing, but for the one inning that he pitched, it's a pretty incredible thing to get inside of the pitcher's head, because I'm pretty sure that's the way Cease is talking to himself out there.
Nailed it for me on fan experience. My favorite part when I'm watching from home is mic'd up players, mic'd up superstars talking through. You never get that any other time, and you can't do it any other time, of course, but it's the best players in the world talking about how they think, what they do, having fun with it. So well done. Well done by the broadcast team, too, to put that all together. Okay, let's move forward. Let's charge.
He's charging the mound.
Extension season continues. We actually learned about J.J. Weatherholt for the St. Louis Cardinals right when we were wrapping up a show a week ago. And now, post-All-Star game, Chase Burns is a rich man. 7 years, $105 million. Deal includes no options or deferrals, reading the Ken Rosenthal tweet. Latest guarantee to a pitcher with less than 4 years of service. John Morosi on it first. The Reds have...
Largest.
What did I say?
You said latest. I didn't want people to think it was a late... Sorry, it was largest.
No, good. I need that. I do that right back to everyone else. Largest. Big money. He's over $100 million. KP, what do we think about Chase Burns getting the big bucks from the Reds, a small market team that is able to keep someone who would become very expensive if you let it linger?
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about kind of what's pending out there and maybe the reasons he did it, but I absolutely love it for not only the player, I love it for the organization. A small market team like the Reds coughing up over $100 million to a starting pitcher lets you know that baseball is in a great place, that every team has the ability to do it. It's whether or not they want to do it. And for Chase Burns, there's going to be a lot of people that sit here and say, oh, man, he was at 4 years of service time. He could have waited 2 years, and he probably could have got double that. That's probably true, but there's also a chance he could throw a pitch a week from now and never pitch again. I immediately think about a guy like Walker Buehler, who probably had a long-term extension thrown in front of him, and he was arguably one of the best pitchers in the world. He was, a World Series hero. He was an all-star. He was a Cy Young candidate every single season. And then you get to a point in your career, you have injury, where you have a couple injuries, and that big deal is no longer there. Now we're talking about a guy who signed a one-year deal with Boston last year. We're talking about a guy who had to sign a minor league deal this year, who's pitching for maybe a couple $1 million this year. So as especially a starting pitcher, because their success is so much determined on their health of their arm. You're always one pitch away from throwing your last pitch. So for a guy like Chase Burns to understand that and to take $100 million, and look I don't have $100 million. I don't know what that's like, but I can't imagine there's a huge difference in your lifestyle when you have $100 million, maybe $150 million or $170 million or even $200 million. At that point, you're really rich. You could probably do whatever you want. You have generational wealth. You're never going to have to work again. So good on both sides getting a deal done.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous. And this is part of building a culture. Obviously, you have to like what's going on, the city that you're in, not just the team, because over this length of a contract, there's going to be very few of your teammates that are going to be there the duration of it. But look back to when, I think it was in 23, the Reds extended Hunter Green. Hunter Green really hadn't established himself to be the Hunter Green that he is now. He had a Tommy John surgery, I think, before he even got called up, and he was a future prospect. So the future was bright for him. He signed for 6 years, $53 million. Okay, so a team option on top of that. But what that does is it enables him to be in the same clubhouse as now. Chase Burns gets called up, and they have these conversations. Are you pissed that you signed it? Do you feel like you're in prison because you're never going to be able to leave this organization, whether they have a good year or a bad year? Are you excited about it? And to me, when organizations start doing that, then they're able to go to other guys in the organization who come up and have an incredible, essentially this is Burns' first full year. I mean, he had like 90 days last year. Incredible first year, you're an all-star. And those conversations have already happened with Hunter Green. If they haven't, maybe I'm completely off, but this is how it works. And he's like, sure, I would love to be in the same work. I would love to sign an extension.
He's got good stuff. A couple things that stand out to me. First, I want to answer from a fan who's in there often, Christian, who has great stuff, great questions, but he's like, why would a player like this not bet on themselves? And I think KP answered it. I mean, you're seeing this with many position players. You can make more of a case for position players. For pitchers, you got to get paid. You got to get that first contract. And if you're good, there's longevity for the star pitchers, right? Look at some of the big time pitchers in our sport and how they can pitch really well deep into their 30s. There will be another bite at the apple, but there are too many stories of arms falling off and nothing happening. You can't afford that. And it can happen at any time. Pitchers arm ticking time bomb. Yeah.
That's a great, another thing, as everybody knows, insurance costs have gone through the roof. I'm not saying this is why guys are signing these early extensions, but players used to go, not of my stature or of KP's stature, but players like this used to go to purchase insurance, purchase like a futures insurance. Like, hey, if these things happen in the next 2 years, in the next year, I'm hedging myself that, you know what, I'm going to pay this whatever for insurance, and then I'll be able to get the $100 million if that's what was offered to me. And it's kind of the way of them hedging against injuries. It wasn't common, but it happened. Now insurance costs, I heard, for these guys are just like everybody's insurance costs, through the roof. Places aren't even taking pitchers' insurance, is what I'm hearing, unless it's like half a year, unless it's like partway through a year, maybe a year at length.
That's good info. I've got other info for you on the Reds selection process a few years ago, 2024 MLB draft. Charlie Condon was looked at as a superstar college bat, and many people thought that he was going to land with the Reds. The Reds go Chase Burns. The Rockies then take Condon at 3. Nick Kurtz taken, by the way, at 4 by the A's. And I remember back then some people were like, really? They're taking Nick Kurtz that high? Yeah, that worked out pretty well for them. But number 1 that year, Travis Bazzana. That's working out well so far for Cleveland, as he's already an instant all-star. But KP, for the Reds, it's hard to recruit pitching sometimes with that ballpark. I think it's becoming easier for them when you see some of the success they have with their young pitching core. But that was part of the process for them. Hey, we can land a hitter. We can get Gino Suarez to come back to Cincinnati. Free agent starters, if we're even on money against another team, they're probably not coming here. Let's draft and develop. Derek Johnson's been there for a while, part of the pitching development program, and many other names that, I don't necessarily know, but I know are doing a great job there. They've got something special going on with how they develop arms and how they select arms in Chase Burns.
Yeah, and everyone knows it's a hitter's ballpark. So, yeah, it's easy to get some, especially guys that maybe are trying to have a bounce back year, especially 1-year deals for hitters. Like, come into Cincinnati, kind of boost your stats, go back on the free agent market. It's easy to do that with hitters. It's hard to get a pitcher maybe in that same kind of category to want to come into Cincinnati, knowing how much of a hitter's ballpark it is. But you think about, drafting and developing arms. Think about their rotation now with Chase Burns locked up, Hunter Green locked up. You got Lodolo there, you got Abbott there. Like, that's 4/5 of your rotation that you're going to have, at least for Lodolo and Abbott. I think they each probably have 4 more years left before they're free agents. So I love what Cincinnati's doing. When you are a team like that historically is playing in a hitter's ballpark, it is really important that you go out and you draft and develop, and they've been able to select the right guys. You talk about the decision they had to make in 2024, choosing to go pitcher over, the best offensive player in the draft. They made the right decision.
And I'll bring up one last point. Derek Johnson. DJ was the pitching coach in 2018 with the Brewers. The Reds pulled him away. The Reds gave Derek Johnson something that other organizations, Major League Baseball, doesn't do. They gave him a multi-year contract to leave the Brewers and come over there. And now what he has helped build, he would never say he's built it. What he has helped build there has turned into extreme value. Teams don't want to spend on coaches, but they should when they find a good one and lock him up and make sure, because he didn't want to leave Milwaukee, but he has a family. How could he not leave Milwaukee when, you know what? We're going to give you we're going to give you a multi-year contract. Like, that's unheard of in Major League Baseball. Now look at what he's helped build and they've put together.
Yeah, wise move. I like this one too. Chase Burns looks like the real deal, already an all-star this year, locked up long-term with the Reds, 7 years, $105 million. Let's get to some trade rumors, shall we, and reports coming up after we tell you about Riverfront territory. Mason, Danny, and C. Trent will have plenty on Chase Burns being a Red for a long time now, locked in at a good price. Coming up next, Robert Murray, FT Insider, fan-sided, next. Hey, we're here. Let's talk about Shohei Ohtani for a moment. Fluid drained from the knee. He's going to be DH only for the Yankees series, as Dave Roberts confirmed. He had a little procedure to relieve knee irritation. No injection. He was supposed to get that after skipping the All-Star game. He's going to be DH at minimum for this weekend's Yankees-Dodgers series.
You know, I mean, you heard me right before the All-Star break, and I think this is another reason why the All-Star break needs to be a little bit longer, because there are probably multiple guys that are in a situation like this that have, some bumps and bruises or a knee that needs to get drained. And I know there was some people that were critical that Shohei wasn't there, but when you have to make a decision about what's best for your team, the Los Angeles Dodgers, what's best for Shohei Ohtani, him traveling to Philadelphia when he's not going to participate, when he has this knee that needs to be drained, is the priority. I do believe if the All-Star break was a little bit longer, he probably could have gone to Philadelphia, showed face, done the red carpet thing. He is the face of baseball. To be there is really important for the game. But when you only have 2 or 3 days for an off day, and you have to get something like this done, it's a reason the All-Star break. Another reason the All-Star break needs to be a little bit longer.
Another reason I will not ever listen to anybody that says the bye is bad in the playoffs. You do not want the bye. I will never. This stuff is happening more often than you know. Just so happens it's Shohei Ohtani, the best player in the world. That's why we know about it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, and also, shameless plug, but I forgot to do it at the top. We had been teasing it last week. FoulTerritoryShop.com now has player merch. There's an All-Star collection that we released on All-Star Day. Every player covered. Get your All-Stars here. FoulTerritoryShop.com. It's going to be the coolest designs. We are going to have different drops every single week. We have the player licensing down. We are very excited about it. So you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, or you know how to get to the website. But if you see something on there, go for it. If you don't see something on there, we'll take suggestions. But we're going to be whipping up all kinds of cool art on shirts, on sweatshirts, on merch. So get ready for that. We're very excited about it. Okay, coming up next, Robert Murray. Time for the Robert Report. Yeah, let's get into it. Fan-sided Insider and FT Insider. You'll see him a lot on here during these next few weeks, especially Robert Murray with us. Robert, let's do a headliner right from the jump here. I want to go over the Padres, and if you think there's any chance that they actually dangle Mason Miller, or will AJ Preller do his usual thing and get aggressive and go for it? You see it out there. It's rumor city. Help us sort through if you actually think there's a possibility that they would try and move him.
I mean, boys, I'm sorry I missed you at the All-Star game, but AJ Preller is the guy that I always think of when it comes to the trade deadline. We always see him making these big moves. Last year, especially, he was going crazy. You got Mason Miller, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano. You got a bunch of other guys as well. And this year, I definitely expect him to be on the market, be active on the market, but what could that exactly look like? Because the Padres are not having the season that they envisioned. They still, I believe Preller will have flexibility if they go out and buy. But Mason Miller has been mentioned a bunch here in the on the trade rumor front. I've checked. I don't necessarily know if he's got like a real chance of being moved, but with how limited the market is, I can see teams absolutely checking with Preller to see if Miller will become available. And you have to imagine that the price for Miller, who's emerged as the best reliever in baseball, is going to be very high. He has absolutely been everything that the Padres have hoped for. And honestly, he's been even better than I think they could have hoped for. And he seems like a guy that they want to build around, that they want to have in San Diego long term. But if an offer that comes that's too good to pass up, where they can get that headliner, one of the best prospects in ball, maybe they can end up doing so. But my guess is this is just a case where Preller listens, he sees what's out there, holds on to Miller, and if they have an opportunity to go out and compete, then I think we could see him trying to add at least one bat, maybe two, and then try to do whatever AJ Preller does is and just make trades like no other executive in ball can make.
Hey, so we had a little action yesterday, what we're calling kind of the first official trade of the unofficial second half. Lance McCullers going to the Brewers. Tell me what you think about that move for the Brewers, but also, do you believe that this is kind of like the push to get these GMs out there to start getting a little bit aggressive? We know how tight the American League is in general. Do you think a little move like this starts to force GMs to start making moves before the deadline?
Gosh, I sure hope so because everything that I've heard is that the market at this point is relatively quiet. But as far as the Brewers go, they've had to do something and they got multiple somethings here and they got pitching depth, which is exactly what they've needed because Jacob Mizorowski has been dealing with arm fatigue. And everyone you talk to around the situation, and including Mizorowski, has said that he's not overly concerned about it. And Kyle Harrison's been dealing with something with his elbow. But again, the concern there is low. But the Brewers know better than anybody that you need as many outfitters as you can because injuries happen and you're going to end up having guys who are going to need a breather. And this is something where I would not be surprised if we see the Brewers try to limit Mizorowski's innings to keep him fresh for the postseason because he's already coming up on his career high of innings. And I think they're going to want to try to manage him. And adding a guy like Lance McCullers is a low risk move. You obviously add about $2.5 million in salary, which for the Brewers is not a small thing. But to me, this is going to be the start for the Brewers where you can add more pitching. Maybe you can end up adding a bat. I hope they do both because I think they could definitely use both. But from Houston's perspective, too, this saves some payroll room for them. It allows them to have a little bit more flexibility come the deadline. And with them like still hanging into the postseason race, I do expect them to add. And at one point, I expected them to move Christian Walker, maybe even a guy like Josh Hader, some other guys as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they held on to him and kind of try to add to this roster, but I do think this is going to be an outlier, and then that most of the movement is probably going to come closer to August 3rd, though.
All right, where are the teams that are? I think there's probably about 5 teams that are essentially out of it. In my opinion, out of it. I think in their opinion, out of it. And I have the Giants, the Mets, the Angels, the Royals, and the Rockies. Who is primed to take advantage of this market where, like you just said, hey, if you move early, you can get the guy that you want, but everyone's afraid of moving early except for these teams?
No, totally. And I think that list is exactly what I have here too. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have at least two or three more that are added to that list closer to the deadline. But the team that stands out to me the most is the Giants. They have obviously like Luis Ariz. He's had a great season both offensively and defensively, and I would be stunned if he isn't moved. Maybe you could do an extension. I've seen some talk about that on Twitter, but I think they can absolutely take advantage with him. You have other guys like Harrison Bader there. You have the Stars with Rafael Devers, with Matt Chapman, who I still think, I said the last time I was on the show, I think he'd be a great fit for Philadelphia, especially if they want to upgrade the third base position and have someone there long term. Willie Adames, but the guy that I would not be surprised if he draws a lot of interest, is Jung-Hoo Lee. He's not going to like blow you away power-wise, but he's a really solid defender, great average. Like he's a guy that is a really steady, like a really good baseball player. And I could absolutely see the Giants getting so much interest in him and perhaps an offer that they can't refuse and possibly end up moving him. And that's one possibility there. They're going to be listening on all these guys, and they have the pieces there where they can still sell, but they can also have a chance at competing possibly next year and the year after that. So they're the team that stands out to me. Then you have the Mets in here as well. And obviously Freddie Peralta in the final year of his contract is going to be drawing a ton of interest. And he hasn't had the year that he's had in Milwaukee previously, but he's still a really good, dependable pitcher. And that $8 million salary that he has for this season is something that is going to have a lot of teams intrigued. It's going to have a lot of baseball in the mix there. So I would imagine the interest there ends up leading to a deal involving Peralta. And then everyone is like, I shouldn't say everyone, but I would imagine a lot of different contending teams are going to be looking at a guy like Luke Weaver, who's been phenomenal there. And we've seen Aroldis Chapman obviously get mentioned in trade rumors, and now it looks like the Red Sox are going to be holding firm and possibly adding there. Does Mason Miller get moved? And again, I don't think that's the most likely thing. So it's possible that Luke Weaver could end up being the best reliever who's possibly available or potentially moved. So he's somebody I'm definitely watching. As far as like the Royals go, they've made it pretty clear that they don't want to move a guy like Seth Lugo or Michael Wacha. We'll see if that ultimately leads to a deal, but they should, in my opinion, definitely listen on both of those guys because Wacha especially. Look at his numbers like the last 5 or so seasons. The guy is legitimately, his nickname should be Mr. Consistent. It's absolutely remarkable what he's done. And getting to talk to him at the All-Star game was pretty cool because his mindset and just how he goes about his business is awesome there. And then the Angels too. Under Perry, they were a team that really did not like make a ton of moves, not a lot of big splashes come the deadline. But now you have John Mozeliak there. You got a fresh set of eyes, and he can end up looking at this thing with an objective view. You can move a guy like Reed Detmers, whose value I think he could end up getting a lot in return for him for sure. You have Joe Adell, who I think would be a great fit in Philadelphia, maybe San Diego. Again, they're a team that could take advantage of this thing for sure, but those are the teams that I'm watching, but I'm skeptical that the Royals are going to jump into that mix and make anything too splashy here.
All right, I'm going to say this slow because it's still hard to believe. It is July 6th. The Chicago White Sox are tied for first place in the American League. What do you believe that the White Sox go out and do during the deadline? Do you believe that they're going to be big buyers? Are they going to go out and make a big move, or do you think they're just going to make some moves kind of along the fringes to allow them to kind of compete down the stretch?
Yeah, we're talking White Sox and AJ Pierzynski is in here. Isn't that terrible? I mean, how about that? But it's crazy. We got the White Sox to me should be a team that absolutely tries to make this thing happen at the deadline. And but if you make it happen and you make a big move, you have to go out and get somebody controllable. And I've been talking to some different people across baseball, and I think Reed Detmers would be a tremendous fit there. I just mentioned him with the Angels. He's had a really strong season there. And you add him to the White Sox, and you can build around him in that rotation. And having a starting pitcher would be, or adding a frontline starting pitcher would really help them both now and also long term as well. And I don't like it's the asking price for him is going to be a lot, especially with him being controllable. But if you're the White Sox and you can possibly get him without giving up like the entire farm, I think that's something you should absolutely go out and consider because his underlying numbers there too. Obviously, you see the 4.39 ERA. But the strikeouts are really good. He's someone that I'm not kidding you when I say this. He has been the most asked about player that I've gotten on my end, at least from other teams across baseball. They want to know, do I think he's going to be moved? They want to know what I'm hearing. And I think Detmers is going to be somebody who is very, very coveted come deadline time.
The teams that approach, if you're talking about the White Sox, the teams that approach the Angels about Detmers, wouldn't it be like all right, it's fine. We'll take Jose Soriano, or is Jose Soriano, because he's not getting asked as much as what you're talking about with Reed Detmers, that it wouldn't be the same thing? Because you already work it out and you're like, that doesn't quite fit our package, but we'd be fine giving up Jose Soriano.
I mean, I definitely think he's going to be somebody who draws a bunch of interest. And like you look at his start that he's had, It's been remarkable. He was the talk of baseball across his first, what, 8 to 10 starts, give or take. Very solid, very strong candidate at the deadline here. And I think the Angels should absolutely be in a position where they listen on him. Should they sell high? Do they think this is going to be a sign of things that are going to continue? I think that's something that John Mozeliak and that entire front office has to come out and listen or come out and consider here. But as far as he goes, like obviously, as I said, Detmers has been the guy that I've been asked about the most. But with how limited the market is overall and how many of these teams are out and contending, it would behoove the Angels to listen on Soriano because if you can get an offer that allows you to have a better position to compete next year, maybe the year after that, because they're not relatively close to competing. I think it's something they should absolutely consider, and I would absolutely imagine, considering his start, that he's going to be drawing plenty of interest here.
All right, Robert, I'm going to put you on the spot right here. I'm going to have you come out.
Oh
Give me a player that's not being talked about a lot right now in trade circles, a big name that you think could get moved at the deadline.
boy, am I allowed to say someone that I said before? Because it's
Yeah, yeah.
relatively okay. I'll say Jung Hoo Lee because like the depth overall of players who are available on the offensive side at this point seems relatively little. Obviously, it's going to change in the next couple weeks, but I think Jung Hoo Lee is somebody who is going to be drawing a lot of interest. And as I said before, like you look at his numbers there, you hit 302 average. Power isn't necessarily there, but he is a winning ball player, and I think he is absolutely like a phenomenal ad if you're Philly, if you're Atlanta. I don't know if the Giants would go out and trade him to a division rival like the Padres, but the overall fits there make a ton of sense. And you look at the strikeout percentage there as well. He doesn't strike out much. He puts the ball in play. He's somebody who I think is going to have a lot of fans across baseball, and I wouldn't be surprised if it led to a deal. So my vote is for Jung Hoo Lee.
Can you, I know this is putting you on your spot, but can you rank the top three teams that the next 2 weeks of games mean
Ooh,
the most for?
okay, let's go. I'll go the Padres. I'll go the Red Sox. Ooh, I'm trying to think of the other team here that could end up being it. But those two teams to me stand out the most among all of those. I'm trying to think of one other team that could end up really. Oh, I'll
Detroit,
also go with
maybe. Toronto.
Detroit. Oh yeah, Detroit. I'll go with Houston as well because they're a team that obviously they have a bunch of trade chips, like I mentioned before. You have Christian Walker, you have Josh Hader. I can't believe I didn't think of Detroit. I don't know who it was who ended up listing that one, but I appreciate you saying that because you have a guy like Tarik Skubal here, who is the biggest domino on the entire market. And as of this point, I'm not exactly sure if he's going to end up getting moved. He's like, if you would ask me that 2, 3 weeks ago, which honestly I think you guys did, I was like, yeah, like I think for sure he's going to be moved. But they're getting back into this thing. They're trying to go out and compete. And you know what? If they end up getting closer to that playoff spot, maybe School stays and they end up going out and trying to add to this roster. They're a team that honestly should end up being number one on my list. The fact that you guys needed to help me out with that one is kind of embarrassing for me. But that being said, Detroit is absolutely the team to watch here for sure because School could really dictate the entire deadline here.
Who would be the next tier pitcher if Tarik Skubal doesn't get moved? Who do you think's the biggest name pitcher that gets moved? Most
I would
impactful,
probably,
I would say. Most impactful.
yeah, I would go. I mean, there's Freddie Peralta. I think he is going to end up really benefiting from a change of scenery if he ends up getting moved here for sure. I think he is going to be somebody who like obviously like the talk around him at this point is still like I mean people are kind of I feel like people are kind of sleeping on Freddie Peralta at this point because of his numbers this season, how down he's been in Milwaukee. But he is somebody to me who is going to be making an impact. He's playoff tested. He's awesome, and I think whoever goes out and get him, whether if it's the Cubs, whether it's I mean any of these other teams are going to be gunning for him. I think Peralta is going to have a bigger impact than people realize.
This isn't a salary cap question, but it could be moved in that direction. This is a trade deadline question.
Yeah.
All the teams that are in the mix, we have parity. Is this good for the trade deadline or is this bad for the trade deadline? Because we'd love to see stuff happening right now, but you're like, we got to see what these 2 weeks, and then you popped off 5 teams that we got to wait to see what's going to happen.
No, I think it's great because it adds some mystery, it adds some like intrigue to it as well. And obviously, we're not going to have like a bunch of moves that happen between now and let's say like the late July, but I think August first to the third are going to be plenty active. I think we're going to have a ton of moves here. But I think anytime you can have a bunch of teams going out and competing is a really good thing for ball. And like you look at it, you have so many teams competing. You have the Padres selling for almost $4 billion. Like ratings are up big time across ball. Like players are being paid. They're playing at really high levels. You have star players who are also super young and early on into their careers. Baseball's in a terrific spot. So, like, I know you said it's not a salary cap question, but I still am adamant that we don't need a salary cap in baseball. I don't think a salary cap is going to be implemented in baseball. I want to be put on the record with that. But that being said, like, I do expect the deadline, even though we don't have like a big long list of sellers at this point. I still think it's going to be plenty active. And I want to go back to a conversation that I had with Ken Rosenthal on the field there in Philadelphia, because he and I were talking, we were catching up, and I'm like, yeah, this deadline's kind of shaping up to be relatively boring. And he looked at me and he's like, I disagree. And I'm like, you do? He said the deadline's never boring. So right now, while we it seems like it might be boring, I think we're gonna end up having some fireworks. So I think I would stay tuned on that front for sure.
Yeah, since we're on that topic, do you believe that GMs are going to be treating this trade deadline any different, knowing that there could be a work stoppage at the end of the season?
Yeah, I definitely think so for sure. And the fact of, I would imagine we see teams that have kind of sat on the sidelines in years past, whether it's the Brewers, whether it's the Marlins. I could see those guys being aggressive on the market and trying to make some different moves, just so they can show that they're adding to the payroll. Because the Marlins didn't do hardly anything in the offseason. You have the Brewers who have basically done nothing in free agency in years past. Obviously, they've done extensions, but free agency wise and just trade wise, it's been relatively quiet on that front there for them, but I would imagine those two teams are going to be active. And I would imagine a lot of these teams are going to be looking at players who are controllable, who are cost effective. And obviously, like that's something you hear about plenty come deadline season, but I think this year it's going to be of even more importance. So I think those two things, or that thing in particular, but those two teams are going to be ones that we should be watching here going forward here.
Going around the edges, you did talk about the Phillies, possibly, Devers at third base, possibly Joe Adele. What specifically are the Phillies' needs that they're going to go after? And when you bring up the Devers thing to play third for the long term, you would get them at a cheaper price. They did want to go after Bo Bichette. If that would happen, would Alec Boehm find value that the Phillies are in need of that you're about to tell us what the Phillies need?
Yeah, and the guy that I thought made sense for the Phillies, and it was something that I got from rival execs, it was Matt Chapman. It wasn't Devers, even though I think Devers could
Chapman.
be.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, no, you're totally good. But I think that Chapman would be a really strong fit there. But if you look at Philadelphia, I think third base is a position they can absolutely upgrade on. You can add to the rotation there, add an outfielder there as well. Those to me seem like they should be the three priorities there. And Chapman, as I said, would be a great fit at third base. And they had money to spend in that position. They thought they had Bo Bichette signed. Like that deal was at, I'd say, the 5 or 10 yard line. They just had a couple more things to go. And then the Mets, who were lurking on Bichette all offseason, went out and got him at the very last second. But outfield wise, like this is a position where I could see them trying to make a decent splash, whether it is a Joe Adele. Taylor Ward seems like he'd be a great fit in Philadelphia too. I think both of those guys, especially Ward, could be some really strong fits that we hear about plenty with Philadelphia for sure. And then pitching wise, do they make a splash? Like obviously Dave Dombrowski has a deep history of making splashes for rotation help at the deadline. Like I don't think he's going to go out and get a guy like Tarik Skubal, but if they can end up adding somebody that can make an impact in that rotation, I don't think that they would hesitate. But if I'm Dave Dombrowski, which I'm not, but if I was, I think outfield would be the position I'd try to upgrade the most at the deadline here.
Hey, Robert, there's a new way to follow you. Would you like to share that?
I would. This is a bit of a different thing for me. So I posted about it on my Twitter yesterday. It's subtext. So I have like a really loyal like following on Twitter, and these people have been just incredible to me. And I want to have like direct one-on-one access to people. So if you subscribe to me on subtext, which you can find on my Twitter, I can have direct conversations with you. I can answer your questions in the moment. And I think it's going to be something that really ends up allowing me to be closer to everybody who follows me. And I would also say this, I will be posting stuff in there and also in my Discord as well that people cannot find anywhere. So I would highly recommend going there, adding me, and we can have one-on-one conversations and just we can talk ball. It's a really cool thing, and I've already got a bunch of people who signed up. And honestly, I absolutely love it. I think it's freaking awesome.
And if you have a tip for Robert, he will read it. Will he use it? Well, depends what your sources are like, but
Depends
you
on
get
who you
what?
are.
It depends who you
Yeah.
are. Or yeah, maybe there's a front office exec out there who's like, you know what? I don't have a direct line to Robert. I'm just gonna drop something in here on a little burner and let him know a few things.
I mean, shoot, if you're an exec who's watching this, please go on and do that because that'd be pretty awesome. I would love that. That would be incredible. Wouldn't that be something?
There are execs with burners.
Hey,
Just
there we
throwing
go.
that
Shoot, I
out
got a
there.
text from Erik. He's like, I'm just going to text you directly. That's my guy right there. I'm not. Yeah, we love him. That's been my guy for years. We love you.
We do. Robert, you're the best. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
That sounds good to me. Take care, boys. I appreciate you.
Hey, Tommy Tanks, how you doing? The A's are making a call. They also designated Aaron Savali for assignment, who had a hot start and then cooled off. But Kratz, we love the nickname. The numbers look good. He was a star at LSU, second round pick 2024, 23 years old, and he's coming in hot on Friday against the Nats.
I was at the Nats. He can't wait till the bullpen gets in there, so he's gonna get some swangs off. There's a lot of AAA pitching in their bullpen. I was at the combine when he was a high schooler, and I was the coach of one team, and the hitting coach on my team was Billy Butler. And Billy Butler, I was watching, I go, Bill. I was like, this guy swings exactly like you. And obviously everybody knows what Tommy Tanks ended up doing. He made a lot of money going to LSU after being at NC State. He is a pure hitter. I thought he was going to get drafted out of high school. Tough for a guy, but he's now athletic and he's moving to third. I'm excited to watch it because Billy Butler was a real hitter. Bill as a person was a goofball. Tommy's probably a little bit less of a goofball than Bill.
And another offensive player who could be an impact guy for an A's team that actually has disappointed KP. I don't think anybody expected them to be the best team in baseball, but they dropped 9 in a row heading into the break. It's looking like they're going to be sellers.
Yeah, I mean, but I think we just talked about the Cincinnati Reds. I think it's a fair comp. I think what you've seen over the last couple of years, the A's have done a really good job of drafting and developing offensive players. You think about Willson, you think about Lawrence Butler, you think about obviously Nick Kurtz. Tommy Tanks is just kind of the next guy in line of them being able to go out, identify big league talent at the offensive level. Obviously, them playing in Sacramento is not a sexy draw for any starting pitcher or any relief pitcher to want to come in and sign there long term. You've obviously heard Luis Severino, his complaints about, pitching there and the mound and stuff. And then obviously we saw what happened in Vegas with the ball flying out there. I do think at some point Vegas will be a destination because of its geography, the nightlife, it's a non-tax state. So I do believe that they have disappointed this year, but I do believe that the future is bright for the A's organization.
Need some pitching. Pitching.
Need to find it. Maybe they're a cool team at the break, at the trade deadline that's like, well, we'll just trade for something because we can never sign it ourselves. Maybe they'll make a weird, like, why on earth would they do that? Who knows?
Long-term pitcher asset acquired.
Totally.
Something like that. Yeah.
So they have their stars from within already, which they couldn't get before. Now, I don't know. Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
I encourage everyone to check out all of the All-Star coverage that we had because we did our shows, we had guests there, but then we also had reporters on the scene, red carpet, media day, the whole deal. There were great quotes coming from a variety of players. One thing that stood out was the conversation Willson Contreras had with a number of reporters about how much he loves Boston. So, Kevin, Willson has something called a no trade clause. Now, the Red Sox are actually in a much better position than they were a couple weeks ago. It appears that they could be buyers, if not at least holders. But Willson made it, I would say, kind of clear that he doesn't want to go anywhere. And he's got that big boy no trade clause, which he waived to go to Boston. And it sounds like if the Red Sox fell apart over the next couple weeks, he's not very interested in moving.
Is this a full no trade clause? Do we know that? Or limited, probably full no
Hold on.
trade. I would assume. Let's just go with the full
I'll
no
look it up.
trade
But
because
let's go with full. I think it's full, but I'll double check.
yeah, I mean, obviously, what the Red Sox did, closing the unofficial first half has completely changed the conversation, the feel around this team, and what they actually might end up going out and doing during the deadline. And we just heard Robert talk about it. They may be one of those teams that over the next couple of weeks, it's huge what they do over the next 2 weeks. Do they become sellers? Do they become buyers? And obviously, when you're a guy like Willson Contreras and you're in Boston for the foreseeable future, what else is a guy supposed to say? Whether he means it or doesn't mean it, like he's there. He has a no trade clause. He controls what he wants to do. But I do think winning 9 straight before the break. Boston is a great place to play. Unfortunately, the year I got a chance to play there was during the COVID year. But as a visiting player, it was always one of those places I enjoy going. The fan base is incredible. Fenway Park, what an amazing place to play 81 games a year. So, yeah, I mean, it's not surprising he's going to come out and say he doesn't want to go anywhere. It would be interesting, though. Let's say the Red Sox do scuffle down the stretch. What if there's a scenario where Milwaukee comes and offers him to trade? He gets a chance to play with his brother. Does he waive his no trade clause then?
Interesting. Milwaukee won't want to pay a first baseman that much money for the 27 season. And then obviously he also has the team option for the 28 season. So there's a lot that goes on with Willson. And I think him saying this is not just, well, yeah, this is what he's supposed to say because that's what players say. But I mean, Tarik Skubal just said the other day, told a friend he wants to stay in. He doesn't want to be traded. He wants to stay in Detroit. Well, it's not really up to him. Willson, it is because he has a full no trade. And that's why you get it. But it also, the reason I think he's saying this is he's taking a role that I think he's seen other guys take in different times of his career, talking about the older guys with the Cubs, the fact that he got sent over to the Cardinals or signed with the Cardinals. And he was never really that leader guy. Now in Boston, he's kind of tried to take that leadership role. I don't think he's done a great job of it. I just think it's like his emotion kind of doesn't allow him to be that leader, but he's taking a different role on a team that there is no leader right now because they wanted Roman Anthony to be that leader. He's been MIA the entire season with this injury that he's got. And so I think he's kind of fell into that role. And so that would be a reason that, hey, yeah, I want to stay here. Like, this is something I haven't experienced. I've seen before. I haven't experienced. And I'm enjoying this leadership role. Whether or not he's handling it well or not, that's, for us to just judge an opinion on.
He's a great player. Productivity-wise, he's been a great player. Consistent bat. And he transitioned really smoothly to first base. It's a better position for him, Kratz. I mean, you watched him at catcher throughout the years. This is the spot. Like it's not just, oh, well, we need a position for him and we'd rather not fill up the DH spot, even though he does put up DH level numbers. Let's put him at first. I mean, I don't know what he's at with outs above average and defensive run saved,
right,
but he top 10 defensive first baseman in baseball.
He has done so well. And even when he first came up, I remember playing against him. I was like, whoa, this dude's athletic. He just never understood and comprehended the intricacies of being behind the dish. He knew he had a good arm. He would have the most pickoff attempts and the most pickoffs and the most errors of anybody. Like, I think when he came over to the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals weren't set up to allow him to be successful behind the dish. They had Yadier Molina, and Yadier Molina did everything for the Cardinals organization. And then Willson came in, and I think they were like, well, Willson, we're paying you $56 million over the next 5 years. We need to – actually, probably more than that. But we need you to do exactly what Yadi did, and nobody does what Yadi did. Like $87 million for the next 5 years. And so I think he was set up for failure in that sense. But first base is I honestly think watching his athleticism, watching when he first came up, he played outfield and the way he moved around behind the dish. I thought if he wanted to, he could have learned third base and done exceedingly well. Now he's getting older. He learned first base. That's such a credit for him, to him, for learning that and really thriving in that position.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when I watch games that the Red Sox are playing. I forget that he was even a catcher because he looks so natural at first base. It looks like he's played that position his whole life. And I think to Kratzy's point too, and I think it's to give my flowers to catchers. It's very difficult to manage both sides of baseball when you're catching. There's very few really good offensive catchers that are also really good defensively. The fact that he's been able to remove himself from the catching position, go to first base, not have to think about game planning and sitting in those meetings with pitchers and reading swings. He could just kind of be an athlete, which I think he always was. I think he was athletic enough to catch. I think he was athletic enough to play the outfield. He's an athlete at first base, but it's really allowed him to free up his mind and really put a little bit more emphasis on what he's been able to do offensively.
So tell me, Boston winning 9 in a row heading into the break, 14-2 stretch, up or down? Believing it or not? No. Kratz is a thumbs down. KP?
I'm gonna go thumbs up. I think if they're able to get Garrett Crochet back at some point here soon, I mean, Sonny Gray's been incredible, but they were a team in the offseason. Obviously, Roman Anthony hasn't played much this year, but they were a team in the offseason. Obviously, someone that follows the Blue Jays, you have to follow teams in their division. I really like what they did in the offseason. I like the addition to the rotation. Obviously, you have a legitimate closer on the back end. I liked all their position players, how they kind of always fit. It was a big debate in the offseason. They had a bunch of left-handed hitting outfielders. How were they all going to play? How were they going to use the DH role? Contreras was moving from catcher to first base. They have a ton of young talent. It's weird. Baseball is a weird thing because there's no debating Alex Cora is a great leader of men and he's a great manager. This team just underperformed and they just got hot at the right time. And I think there is reasons to believe in this team. Not to say they're going to go out and win every game the rest of the year. They're going to go out and win 9 more in a row. But I do think they're in a position where I think we all thought they would have been at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not buying it.
I'm not buying it.
That's your analysis.
That's my analysis. I watched 8 of the 9 games that they've played. I'm not impressed with the things that I feel like a team that's going to sustain this need to have. I'm very impressed through that stretch of the young left-handed pitchers that they've had with Tolle and Bennett stepping up, being like consistent during this stretch. Can they do it? Can they continue to do it? No, I don't think so because I don't think there's enough. When they start becoming a winning team like they are right now, I think they're going to face other winning teams and they're going to see, all right, that's cool. Willson can swing it. Who else is going to beat us? Cedon's going to beat you? Well, just don't throw him a strike. Like, Durbin's going to beat you? Okay. Make sure you extend away to him, down and away to, like, there's a lot of pieces that have really been falling into place and things that have been going well. I just don't feel like through this 9-game stretch that they've changed anything to make me think that this team's going to continue to make a massive run like they would need to be a team that's like where I'm saying, woo, wow, they're going to be a consistent 5 games over 500, which would be great in the American League. I just don't see that. Like, they climbed all the way back to 500, and I feel like they're just a team that's going to hang right around that area, which could be bad for them because they might keep some of the pieces that are going to be expiring after this year.
Yeah, you were relying on Roman Anthony to carry the team. He's not even healthy, unfortunately. And then Garrett Crochet is your number one for me. I'm sticking to the lack of personnel that would not be able to help them in the second half here, at least for a while. So I'm with you. I actually think every team in the AL East is better than them right now. We'll see what that looks like in the second half. I like every other team in the AL East better than Boston. I do. We'll see what it looks
like
like.
how
I mean, they might not finish in last, but I think every other team has a better chance of making the playoffs. And I just like the look of the roster right now for every team coming out of the break. I don't know when some of the big boys are coming back for Boston, but those are my thoughts. Take it or leave it. We'll swing right back. A lot to get to still. Also, we're going to talk White Sox later, but the Olympic battle that's going on right now is very interesting, where players might get severely punished for not participating. That's coming up. It could be a big weekend. Some nice weather for you, depending on where you are across the country. Go check out a game. SeatGeek helping us out with some previews. There's one game on Thursday night tonight, Mets and Phillies. And then the Phillies are off on Friday. Kratz is going to rant about that probably in a second. But Yankees and Dodgers is happening. Marlins and Brewers is interesting. What else are we liking that's on the schedule for the weekend, guys? Cardinals, Diamondbacks, 2 wild card contenders.
Rays in Boston. I mean,
yeah.
I want you to jump right into it. The Rays kind of falter, just kind of played meh. But they want to be it, and they're playing a double dip on Friday, right out the gate. I'm not saying – I mean, it's probably going to be a split, 1-1, but this is a huge series, a huge stretch for the Red Sox and the Rays, because the Yankees are going to be like, okay, we're refreshed.
Are they?
We sucked going into the break. We're ready to go.
Against the Dodgers.
Which is not easy because
No.
they lost their last 3.
Yeah, they got swept going into the break. So, they're going to come out, and everything I've seen on social media is like that team is already together. It's like they took a short little break, but they prefer to spend time together. And, we talked about what a break can do for a lot of teams. And I know Kratz kind of went on a small little rant about, the bye in the playoffs. This couple of days, especially for a team like the Dodgers, is going to do them wonders. Teams like the Yankees can do them wonders. Some of these older teams, the break is beneficial. When you think about a team like Miami, how good they were playing in the month of July, a break like this could kind of hinder them a little bit because they have youth on their side. But some of these older teams, anytime you can get more than one day off, it's a win.
Some good tickets to get. SeatGeek is the spot territory, 10% off those MLB tickets. And yes, if you're looking for something on a Friday night in Philadelphia, there is no Mets Phillies, so maybe there's a concert for you. There always is something like that on SeatGeek too. 10% off MLB tickets is our code territory, 10. Go get it and make sure you click the link in the description of this episode. You can get that code automatically added to your account. Go back to Kratz to see his sad face for no Friday night Phillies for a quick sec. What happened, Kratz? What are they doing out there?
Gee, what do you want to do? Well, we're leaving for the shore on Sunday, so let's go to a Phillies game. Yeah, that'd be great. Let's go Friday. Oh, there's no – all right, well, I guess we won't. That's dumb.
What? I don't get it.
I don't either.
Fascinating reports coming out about the Olympics in 2028 and player participation. I'll get to the nitty-gritty details as we discuss this, but basically MLB has proposed to the Players Association significant penalties if you do not participate given an invitation, right? So they want the best of the best in the Olympics. MLB owners have now agreed that they will let players take the break, and they'll do a longer break. They want you to participate in the All-Star game if you're asked and participate in the Olympics, or you would essentially be on the restricted list for weeks. And then you wouldn't be able to play until early August after the All-Star break. You would lose service time. You would lose pay. Your excuse, of course, can be the injured list. That's okay. But they're going to be monitoring that and making sure that there's not injury list manipulation. Again, I'll get into the nitty-gritty details, but let's just start here, KP. If you're asked and you're just someone who doesn't want to play, or maybe you're feeling a little bit banged up, but it's not banged up enough to hit the injury list, would you be pissed? Or, hey, should players actually have to participate since most of them have been publicly asking for this?
Hmm. I'm trying to think how I feel about this. It's a lot to unpack. I I do feel like most players, given the fact that they are going to have this extended break and that they're not going to be missing games, I feel like most players that are given the opportunity to be asked to play for their country and represent them in the Olympics would probably say yes. I don't like any situation in life where someone's putting a gun to your head and saying you have to do it, or these are the things that are going to happen to you. Restricted list, if you're on the IL, you can't come back to these certain times because, me and Kratzy can both sit here. We played a long time, and there's a lot of things that players through physically and sometimes mentally, but physically that are not IL worthy, but you're playing through, and sometimes to have to go out and risk it even more when your real obligation is to your organization. I think it's a very tricky situation because clearly baseball wants to get their best players, and I wish they felt the same way about the WBC because it's like pulling teeth to get some of these players to, or some of these organizations to allow their players to play. I get the Olympics is a different level than the WBC. Um, but yeah, I don't like any situation where someone's forced to do something that they don't want to do. I would love for the best players in the world to want to say yes to do this opportunity, but I don't think forcing someone's hand by putting them on a restricted list, not allowing someone who's on the IL to rehab at a certain time and kind of like manipulate that. It's a little bit of an interesting thing. What I will say is I do love the fact that whether it's the Players Association or Major League Baseball or collectively, they both understand that the Olympics is a great opportunity to grow the game. And the fact that they're willing to stop the season to allow the best players to go out and represent their countries, I do think is a win for the game.
And the games are going to be played in San Francisco or in LA, wherever it is. The games are in America. So, yeah, it helps Major League Baseball, which is here in America. Like they had it when it was in Japan. I was part of the qualifying team to get there. And like being an Olympian is something that I know a lot of players, Americans, Dominicans, whatever it is, you want to say you're an Olympic gold medalist. So I'm glad that Major League Baseball has said, yes, it's cool. We're fine. We're not being greedy with our WBC, which is the reason we started it. We are actually joining forces with USA Baseball, with Olympic Baseball. And I think that's awesome because it's going to be a great stage for baseball. But what I do not like is this isn't Major League Baseball's tournament. And if they're going to strong arm players right out the gate, and then they turned around and they were like, well, it's because players, the players one is housing and tickets. Yeah, the players don't want to live in the Olympic Village. You can't have professional athletes living in the Olympic Village. You can't have professional athletes living in areas like other amateur athletes or, whatever it is. Like, it's just not, like, it's okay. But this is not Major League Baseball's event. This is the Olympics event. And I don't want to see Major League Baseball strong arm players, strong arm Team USA, Team Dominican, the head coalitions for each of these countries, and to try to strong arm the Olympics. Like, this is the Olympics event. You're not seeing, the NHL is not strong arming their players when they go to the Olympics to play hockey. I don't want to see Major League Baseball do the same thing.
No, many NHL teams, I think, are hesitant with their players. I mean, almost everybody participates if they're healthy, but they get worried about injuries, and I'm sure MLB teams will feel the same way. So this is not just for players. This is also for teams. Go back to the World Baseball Classic. Teams are annoying about the World Baseball Classic and usage. And Rob Manfred spoke publicly about all of this and said this is different from the WBC in terms of timing. This is right in the middle of the season. They understand that guys need to ramp up, and it's weird for, say, pitchers to necessarily be ready in the middle of spring training to be in high stress situations. They understand that. They're like, in this case, we don't, and we're sacrificing money and the way the schedule is put together. I'm not saying this is the right way, but I don't think they're off here. You don't want a situation where it just turns into a vacation for a number of players. I don't think that's going to be the case for many of them, but it might be for some, right? You might be feeling
Why?
the season a little bit. Why what?
What do you mean? Why would it be a vacation for players?
If they say, oh, I'm feeling a little bit of whatever, like many all-stars do, oh, I'm feeling a little bit
Yeah,
of
but
this,
you're
a little bit
already.
of that.
But I don't understand why. Like, you committed to be on the Olympics. You can say no, but if the guys that say yes, you're in. Like, I don't think those guys are committed. It's not going to be a case where Major League Baseball says, okay, these are the guys that are going. You say no, nope, you're suspended. Like, I don't think, like, if guys want a vacation, they're not going to say yes.
Nope. You're misreading this. Invitation, not a yes. Invitation. If you are invited and then you say no, restricted list.
Then
It's
I'm
not
even
you're
more
invited.
angry about it.
Wait, why?
So you're just going to call Kevin, you got to go. That's it. What?
Yeah,
Wait,
it's like the draft when you get drafted for a war. You got to go. You got the call.
Yeah, but that's not. We're not.
What?
That's not
But
what
what if
we're
you
doing.
have a? But what if you have a Shohei knee and you need it drained?
No,
It
you
will be
cannot tell me.
evaluated. And do you know who makes the final call? At least according to this first pitch, it's going to be your favorite. Who gets the final call? Roberto J. Manfred. But okay, my point is proposals get thrown out there. This is what happens with the CBA. It's the same thing with the Olympics. The one part I'm going to defend here is I understand where the league is coming from. We're uprooting everything because it has been requested that players want to finally be involved in the Olympics. It is in the US. We're going to have the All-Star game in San Francisco. So it's right there. It's close to LA, right? We're doing all of this to line it up. We don't want to look and be like, wait, we just gave a bunch of players a 3-week vacation, right? A ton of guys dropped out. You've got guys in, but you've got too many guys out. And they want to showcase the sport. That's the whole point here. It's like the best advertising that you can do for the sport, right? Grow the game. So I get that. And how else do you prevent this from happening where guys won't participate, especially pitchers, guys, especially pitchers?
I get what you're saying, and I do understand that the timing of this is better, especially from a pitching standpoint. And did they say that they're going to extend the break for the Olympics, but they're not going to make up the games? The season would just be shorter. I want to be clear on that.
No. They haven't announced this yet, but I would almost guarantee you that they'll just jam the season with less off days and more doubleheaders and whatever to still hit your 162.
So I don't like that. I think if, you make the Olympics something special that only comes around so many years, and I can't even say every 4 years because each summer Olympic host city determines what are the Olympic sports. The fact that it's in America,
Right.
they're making baseball an Olympic sport. So we can't even call it every 4 years. I think they should just shorten the season. You want to get the best pitchers in the world to pitch in it, shorten the season. These guys kind of stay on their normal routine of pitching every 5 days. The innings kind of end up remotely around the same time. If you're asking the best pitchers in the world to go pitch and then have to go make up games on the back end, I don't think you're going to get the best players in the world to do it. And how to get these players, and I get what you're saying, Scott, that if I got an invitation, and yes, I want to represent my country, but it's like, okay, I could go play in the Olympics or I can have a 3-week vacation. There's going to be some people that want to take some time off, not to say that their
And
vacation is not to
teams
say their
will ask
vacation is them
pitchers.
traveling around Europe. I think
Yeah.
the teams, individual teams, are going to maybe give the players a week off. Then they'd have to be in their host city. They'd probably be doing inter squads, kind of staying game ready, because that's a challenge for the players that don't go play too. Is it is a long time to be off, so there will be workouts and things going on to keep those players fresh. But the simple answer to your question, Scott, is how do I get these players to commit? It's compensation. No matter how much money players have, they can always use more. So if you want these guys to commit, the best players in the world, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's the Olympic Committee, whether it's USA Baseball, you compensate these guys, a good, fair amount of money. And most guys are probably going to say yes, not only to the fact that they're going to get a chance to represent their country, but they're going to get that added incentive of making more money.
Mm-hmm. And it's 2 weeks, I guess. Kratz, you're correcting me, right? Yeah, but
Yes.
still, that's a lot. July 7th is the last day of games under this scenario, and then they would pick it back up on July 21st.
And they would
So it's
also
still a couple weeks. That's a long time. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for a team that has a young pitcher to say, "Hey, Chase Burns, hey, Cam Schlittler, we don't want you pitching." I'm not just talking about the players with this. I'm talking about teams. Teams are actually worse here. They're the offenders, right? They're going
So
to
with
pressure
that,
their pitchers to be like,
so
excuse
can
me.
we make the penalty? Can we make the penalty on the? Can we make the penalty on the organization? And I don't know what that
yes,
looks like,
that's
but let's say Cam Schlittler does get an invite and he's like, I want to do it. He runs it by the New York Yankees and the Yankees say no. They should be penalized, not the player.
that's why
Well,
that's why that's why I'm
And
pissed off about
I
this.
don't know what that looks like, but that's where my gut tells me that's where the penalty needs to be on the organization, not the player.
they're trying to penalize the organization too by saying your player can't play again until August 3rd.
No chance. No chance. The owners are
Yeah.
trying to penalize any other owners. I disagree.
Let's end with this. So you guys say there should be none of this, right? Like, what's the conclusion to get players to play? None of this. You just, hey, it's an invite. If you play, you play. If you don't, you don't. Because I guarantee you, most American pitchers are not going to want to participate. I'm telling
I
you.
disagree. I disagree.
You
They're
think
not
they're all
taking
going to
2
be in?
weeks off. You get one start. You get one start.
I also think if
You
they
gotta
don't
make a
have to
start.
play I also think if they don't have to play the additional games and they're kind of staying within that kind of inning
that won't
limit
happen.
that they're, well, I think it should because, like I said, I know we have this idea of history of the rule book, but let's just call it once every 8 years, the Summer Olympics are going to have baseball. No, I understand. But you're
Because
telling me, I know it's money. I know it's gates at all these certain stadiums. I know money makes everything go round. But you're telling me that there's not a piece of it for all these franchises with their players playing in the Olympics. They're going to get their money.
No, they're not going to get paid much for the Olympics. That's not a thing. And the IOC is a different beast, and they don't give a crap. They will hold firm on that. They're going to give them the same thing the NHLers get, which is like tickets and nice accommodations. They're either getting little to no
you get a
pay.
little
It's
bonus.
not going to. Yeah, but
You
it's
get a little
not.
bonus
That's
for how
not.
you win.
It's not a lot. So I'm just
nothing.
telling you guys, this is how it is, and that's why it's good. There's going to be a lot of back and forth here, but the one side I do understand is we need the best pitchers participating in this, or it's a crappier product.
We're going to get the head of Team USA on because I've seen and been part of the whole making the roster for the Olympics. I was part of that, and he's the head of it. I'm really interested in seeing how it's going to be different if this whole thing goes through because everybody's in negotiations. To me, I think they're asking too much. Major League Baseball's overstepping themselves saying, well, if we pick you, you got to go. No. This isn't war. No, I'm going to do what I need to do.
Hey, I will say this is the first thing that has come out that I think they're actually somewhere in the same ballpark of actually coming to an agreement on something. I don't think it's so far off that it's unreasonable. I do think there are some things that need to be tweaked, but I don't think we're starting on opposite ends of the football field right now. I do think they are a little bit closer to coming to common ground. This is the first thing that any sort of proposal I've seen come out where I do feel like common ground is not impossible to get to.
I agree, because this is also sneaky for players to get some protection against teams that are going to pressure them to not participate. So there's a lot going on here, and it's a good debate. I'm glad we talked it out. We'll have more of this coming up next. We're talking White Sox with James Fegan. BetMGM Locks. I never do well for All-Star, Kratz. You crushed it, man. You won both your All-Star locks.
That is, yeah. I mean, it was nice to watch. I even thought about clicking on that he was going to strike 3 dudes out. I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. No. So he got the 2. It wasn't, I didn't do American League money line. Mine was Dylan Cease 2+ strikeouts, but it was at +110. So
yes,
keep cashing them in.
Well done. Money bags still look very nice for everybody besides Mr. Przinsky, who has a whole second half to get himself going again. And we have a whopping 1 game to choose from. Who wants to start?
I'll go. Strikeouts. 2 strikeouts. 2 strikeout guys in the game. Nola versus Christian Scott. Christian Scott I think in like 8 of his last 10 has struck out 5 or more. The Phillies are not afraid to punch out, including 6 times the last time he faced the Phillies. And Aaron Nola, while I'm not 100% sure how he's going to do, I think the extra break will help him. And he is consistently punching out 6 guys a game. So I went with 5, and it's paying at plus 130.
Nice. Pillar?
Yeah, I just took Philly to win the game, and really, I guess that's how you would have to word it in a betting world. Really, what I'm taking is the Mets to lose the game because I'm just not a believer in what the Mets are going to do. I think it's terrible right now that both these teams actually have to play today, and I know Kratzy's going to go on his rant about that at some point during this show. Give these guys another day off. What are we doing?
No, I'm against you on that one. What 2 teams get to play so that we don't have a empty night. MLB gets to own a very small window in the summertime here, and I like having ball. I'm against you there, KP. Just 2 teams, 1 game a year. I'll take the under. I just think coming off the All-Star game where all that pitching stood out and a break for hitters, and then welcome back to Christian Scott and Aaron Nola, who can punch some tickets like Kratz said. I'll take the under on the 9.5 runs, 115 to win a hundo. No sweat home run token. Get your stake back in bonus bets. You don't have to worry about your bet not clearing the fences. Activate that token when you bet on any player to hit a home run in any MLB game. If the player doesn't go yard, you get your stake back in bonus bets. Keep the action in scoring position. It's BetMGM, king of the swing, and gambling problem or concern, there's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming up next, we're talking White Sox with Sox Machine's James Fegan. Hey, huge news on the FT Network. People have been calling for a White Sox show on the FT Network for a long time, and there's already been one out there, and now they're joining the fam, Sox Machine. James Fegan, a writer for them, covering the team, on the scene with the team. James, we love having you on, and now we love having you part of the FT Network, so a lot more from the Sox Machine crew. How you doing?
Pretty good. Just got back from the All-Star game yesterday, which I had never covered before because the White Sox hadn't given me a ton of reasons to go to an All-Star game before, but 3 members this year and have a home run derby participant. So continues to be a surreal season for a franchise I thought was going to stay dormant for maybe just one more year longer than they did.
KP, you there?
Oh. We lost KP.
Wow.
KP was going to ask you a question, James.
In the chat,
yeah,
me first.
And then he left. But first, welcome to the fam. Second, welcome to Major League Baseball, too, for the White Sox, because they were the laughing stock of not only this show, but really how the team was run. Before we get into the team in general, did the team actually believe in what this team could do this year? Because I'm going to say no, but I guess I shouldn't sway your decision, because if they did believe this, they would have made different moves to make this team a contender, not just, oh, wow, look at what happened.
I think it's like short answer, no. Like it's not a no like a major league where they were like wanting the team to fail and like we're going to tank for a draft pick and now they're winning and they're spiting us. But it's more like they didn't think that they were this far along. Like their big talk, like preseason was like, I think we're closer than some people think. Or at Sox Fest, people were asking Getz like, you improved 19 wins from 2024 to 25. What can you do this year? And he was like, how about another 19? And it came off as like big talk, even though he's talking about theoretically a 79 win season. So I thought they felt like they were going to take a step forward. But for the most part, it's like, even the Murakami signing, like, greatest example when you're talking about it, it's not like, oh yeah, we see something everyone else is didn't, like this guy is going to be awesome. The rest of the league is an idiot for, not thinking he's going to be good. It's more like, hey, why wouldn't we take this chance? Like the ceiling's high if it clicks. If it doesn't, we're kind of in the same place we're at. And that was kind of their risk appetite across the board, which is like, let's take some shots. Let's bring dudes in that we think can pop. We don't know. And certainly like it's too risky for like a team like the Dodgers. You would go for a more proven guy for spots like this. But there's across the board where they're taking opportunities. Let's see if Anthony Kay can, be a major league starter. Let's bring in some guy like Tristan Peters and, give him a shot. See if we can do something at the bat to launch this like kind of like defense first profile. It's just kind of like little moves across the board like that worked out, but they weren't going to tell you like, yeah, we're going to hit on all of these at the start of the season. That's not even how they talk about it now.
So that brings me to the trade deadline now. If you went about the whole offseason like, I hope this works. I got an extra $22 million. I can give 18 a year to Murakami. I can give, a little bit to Anthony Kay. And you bring this team together and this is what's happening. Does it make White Sox fans fearful for the trade deadline that Chris Guest is going to be like, well, you know what? If my magic 8-ball says this is what's happening, I'll see what, like, does his process give fans the hope that it's going to work at the trade deadline?
I think maybe the fear among this fan base is that they've been, process oriented in a way where they're maybe, I would say the most of what I hear back is thinking like they're going to be rather conservative with the deadline. And I think that's probably the appropriate like side to expect them to err on of like, we're not going to like trade Caleb Bonham to like bring in a rental sort of like move or mentality. It's more like, what can they do that fits into their long-term plan? I think you've definitely heard them like shift on what they want to do or how much attention they're going to give this team over the last, 2 months, the way they talk about it. And I think the general idea of like, hey, they need to add a starter, they need to add something to the bullpen, but not go crazy. That's like that's a good bucket to put them in. But if they find the right thing, that's like Reed Detmers gets thrown around a lot, and if they really believe in that, that's someone who has multiple years of control. They can maybe justify that a bit more as an investment of like, hey, we're building towards like this window, than saying like, hey, we have to upgrade our starter, even if it's a pure rental situation, and we have to pay the cost for it no matter what. Because I think there's not a lot of proven sellers, at least at this juncture, to the point where you assume that the prices are going to be very high in a way that's like maybe disqualifying for a team that doesn't feel like they have to maximize it right now. I think it would take a little momentum or take a little wind out of the sails of the clubhouse to not do anything at the deadline. I know everyone's like, most of the people on here kind of been in clubhouses where, you want that fortification or feeling that the front office is in for it. Has the belief in the team to go a distance and add something. So I think they have to, kind of respect that in some way, but they're not in a position where they want to have any feeling that they're mortgaging someone who's a long-term piece or could be really like a big like regular in this organization years down the road, for the sake of, hey, we need another righty leverage guy down the stretch for this season.
Yeah, you mentioned Reed Detmers as kind of a realistic possibility. What are the areas you believe that they need to upgrade? And give me kind of your realistic possibilities versus kind of your dream scenario possibilities of, front end rotation. Give me what you think.
I think like generally, you can bring up Shane Smith, like looking a bit better in AAA recently, but like you kind of need a starter and you need a reliever, and you could bring up relievers like, hey, Jordan Hicks has looked awesome the last couple of weeks. Maybe he becomes a leverage option down the stretch. I would say like one of each of that. Backup catcher is certainly a weakness right now. It's not necessarily like a huge like needle mover as far as like deadline moves, but that's something you could kind of wing in there. And they want Austin Hayes, they want Everson Pereira back for like kind of right-handed outfield help down the stretch, but they both should go on rehab stints after the break. But a little bit of an unsettled picture there where you could maybe rope that in as well, but that'd be another low-level move. I think Detmers is kind of both the dream and the realistic option. The dream because it is multiple years of control, but also because like the price is probably going up in a way just because of the lack of sellers and the fact that the Angels have been resistant to selling in any form, or really like kind of a very helpful form over the last few years, where it's kind of unclear like what moves that are really going to be open for them. I would say like dream or something like bigger is like, is Kevin Gossman available at the deadline because the Blue Jays like tap out? I think that's unlikely. It's really kind of hazy as far as like seeing what the picture is of who's even going to be available, because we're talking about like 4 or 5 teams that are like clearly going to sell at the deadline, and one, competing in that market, but also finding something that, is a solution from it, I think is pretty tricky.
Is there a case where while they don't want to stunt the development of these young guys, definitely don't want to get a case where it's like, okay, a rental and we get rid of one of these young guys? Are they okay sending a guy down that's struggling, like a Noah Schultz, who's, I think his last start was very promising, but if it means if you bring somebody in, whoever it is, Reed Detmers or another proven starter, is this organization okay where it's at in the kind of rebuilding but having success mode, sending one of these guys out back to AAA that in a normal case, a normal season of under 500 right now, Noah Schultz would never leave because he's finally made it up to the big leagues?
I think they have, because they've demonstrated doing that. Like they sent Sean Burke down last year. Seems unthinkable watching him now. He looks great. They've obviously sent Colson Montgomery all the way down in previous junctures, and I think they would have to be like Noah Schultz is simultaneously probably the highest ceiling member of that rotation right now. If you talk about like prospect pedigree, and the last start was good. He was throwing strikes, but realistic is probably the weak link of the rotation. You look at all five of them, like they've been covering Eric Fedde with an opener a lot, but he's been performing with it for the last 5-6 weeks. So I think it kind of, it's part of the business. He has options. You'd have to use them if you want to strengthen the team, and you can look and say like, here are the clear things for you to work on with them. So I think that has to be a possibility and something they take advantage of, because there's a lot of points in the roster, especially position wise. Luis Angel Acuna is out of options, where like they don't have that flexibility to necessarily make that move. So when you have situations where you can point to a guy who's underperforming and option him to AAA, like I think that's absolutely on the table.
Stay with me here. I got like 3 questions in one. One, was it a crime Miguel Vargas didn't win the MVP of the All-Star game? 2, has there been any talks about extending him long-term? And 3, if it's not Miguel Vargas, who do you believe is kind of the face of this franchise moving forward?
Crime, I could see the case for like Bellinger, because like the game was kind of like Miguel's like his impact. I think he's probably like the best player in the field, but like the moment that he had didn't necessarily sway the game like the way the 2-run single kind of broke it open, the way it never came back from. Bellinger's this known guy. He's a former MVP. There's notoriety there. It's kind of like a reward for that's kind of recognizing some of his career contributions as well that he has, that it's on his mantle. I would have loved to see that for Miguel. Like, he's one of the greatest stories. He's one of the nicest people to cover. It would have been deserved. And if Andy Pages doesn't like rob him of like a bullet double that he would have hit earlier in the game, it's kind of unambiguous. Like, this guy hit like 2 balls over 103, and one of them like got into the second deck. So it's kind of like his one of his best friends in the sport maybe kept him from getting that. But I don't know if it quite reached crime for me. I haven't heard about any talks for him, but I think he's probably the most like his savant page is just a sea of red. Like, everything he does at the plate is good. Like, I think even coming into the season, it was like, wow, this guy makes a lot of contact. He makes great decisions at the plate. He never chases. All you need to add is power, and he's done that. So he's like super stable offensively. The next thing down would probably be like, they've loved Kyle Teal. Like, obviously he's been hurt all this year, but like in terms of like feeling super good about his bat, or their belief that he can be like a great framer in this league, and just his positional value and kind of the way he's separated himself, more because the other guys have struggled, from Edgar Caro as far as like their long-term, catcher of the future. I think that would probably be like another guy that they view like this is a core piece. Colson Montgomery is certainly up there, just because like the shortstop defense has been great, and that gives like a value of like, hey, there might be a lot of swing and missing here. There may not be like the highest OBP, but like if you have a shortstop who has like 30 home run juice, that's pretty easy value. So there hasn't been a lot of bubbling as far as extension talk. Like, Kratz has pretty much downplayed it whenever it's been brought up, but I think all those guys would really be candidates. It's about, is this team going to have this kind of like, are they going to respond to the success they've had, the higher TV ratings they had, the higher, I want to say it's like, the attendance has been way up, over the last like 2 months. Is there more revenue in place where you're going to start seeing them invest in the future in a way that they've been resistant to for like kind of the 2 years up to this point?
They're a fun team to watch. You get to watch a lot of them. But I want to bring up the Tigers, the Angels, the Royals, the Mets, and the Rockies. What would you say when I talk about all those teams? Pretty bad teams, yeah?
Tigers
Maybe
have
not the
been
Tigers.
playing
Not the
against
Tigers.
June.
Not the Tigers, but
Tigers low key someone they might have to worry about.
okay. But besides the Tigers, all pretty bad teams. Those are the only
sellers potentially.
Sellers. Those are the only teams that have less wins on the road. Can that be something than the White Sox? Can that be something that the White Sox are able to address, or is it something that's just an anomaly? Or is it the youth not understanding how to play away from home? Is there something that you see differently with the White Sox, that their record on the road has been so poor?
It's hard to pin down one thing for sure. They are young. They do seem like they talk about how energized they are from the crowd, at home, and they have been like getting like this dramatically increased attendance from last year. And they certainly haven't been able to replicate that sort of energy on the road in a way that's consistent. Last road trip was a bit better. They are an offensive team. They have 7 walk-off wins at home. Generally, with them, it's better when they can try to win the games with their bats than they're trying to hold a lead with a bullpen that's been kind of rickety at times. I think you probably see that on the road a bit more than on offense, where they always or at home, where they always kind of have an opportunity to answer. I think with their youth, you can kind of just point to like, this is not this battle-tested team that's been through it in a way that maybe kind of being away from this supportive home atmosphere is just not quite as sustainable yet. That said, like, this is not a clubhouse full of shrinking violets or guys who are not, grinders or tough. So you would not think this would just sustain itself, that they like can't, win or play well without everyone like at their backs. So I think the stat head in me wants to call it an anomaly. At the same time, like, there are some things about this team that just clearly click better at home that they have yet to replicate in some consistent way, when they're in the road grays.
Hey, James, let's finish with this. Tell us all about Sox Machine. I mean, we've done it before when we've had you on, but Sox Machine, part of the FT network. Tell us more about, what fans can expect that are maybe new to the party, how often you guys are contributing with shows, podcasts, and then even, of course, the great written coverage that you guys bring to the table.
So I guess we're upping our shows to 3 times a week as far as, our radio podcast as part of alignment with Foul Territory. But, we try to, I think the way our editor, Jim Margulis, puts it is like, we're more of a boutique than a one-stop shop. It's very like unique to our approach. Like, if you read me, it's going to be a lot of like, breaking down adjustments that guys have made, or, talking about, player development, like really in depth, or really get into their draft, or like talking about like less like hot takes and more like full breakdowns of like where the managerial strategy and like what justifies and what's kind of the principles that you see throughout it. So if you're a true baseball sicko and just really want to like get to the depth of the how and why things work, like, that's what we're all about. And it hopes, in lean years, it's kind of maybe more calmly explaining why the White Sox are terrible than, just kind of freaking out about it. But like, we also do, game threads for every single game. A lot of it with me at the park is about like breaking down like, hey, here's what the manager said, here's things to look for in this game, and trying to like give a forum for fans to experience and process the game in real time. And I think, Jim does a really good job of kind of giving like thinking person's analysis from a fan perspective of the team. And, Josh is someone who kind of sets us both up to succeed and make our points as well as he can. So I think it's a really harmonious, like, full-bodied effort towards trying to give that fan experience, kind of give that like, outsider perspective, while at the same time, like, really, I know, at least from my perspective, wanting to dig in and learn about the game as much as possible to maybe explain some of those things that, frustrate or, invigorate fans as much as they do in those big emotional moments.
Yeah, beautifully stated. And it's been awesome following you guys this year, of course, when the team's got just a totally different complexion to it. It is so different from what it looked like a few years ago. Not even just the wins and losses and the skill set, but just the attitude, the college fratty kind of vibe that these guys have. So it's been cool. And the one thing I will say in defense and in hype of FT is, yes, the one way we are pushy is we try and tell our shows to up it a notch, and Sox Machine's going to give you another show. So we will make James and the crew work like a dose harder for everyone to give you even more show coverage, because I guarantee you there will be just as many listens, views, comments, downloads for that. So yes, that is my and our team's bad, James, but also the fans will thank us and thank you for working an extra couple hours on that. Fair?
Look forward to it.
Thank you. You're the man. I love listening to you guys. Excited to have you on board. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That's James Fegan. Be right back.
Hey, we're in between innings here. We're in the bottom of the fourth. My team's up 2-0, and look who I ran into.
Hello, everybody.
JJ Cooper from the Hot Sheet. He's here watching all the prospects. And who's your favorite so far, JJ?
Well, I mean, cheating, but Dylan Seward is our #1 prospect in high school, college combined. So I'm going to say Seward for now.
Todd, he ended up on my team. They wanted me to ruin him. So, FT family, I hope you all are having a great day. Keep the updates coming.
Love it, AJ. There was actually rumors going on in the YouTube chat that were misconstrued, but someone was like, AJ got fired. And then they were like, fired from FT? And I was like, no, he's on assignment. He's traveling. He's doing USA. And then he was talking about the White Sox stuff. Remember Kratz from years ago when he stopped doing like the paid ambassador stuff, and he talked about it because he was critical of the team on a show that is part of a network that will criticize a team when they should be criticized and hype a team when they should be hyped. But hello to AJ. He gave us a little cameo from JJ Cooper, and there's a number of former big leaguers that are out there this week in, what is it, Cary, North Carolina?
Yeah, Cary, like Ryan Zimmerman, Brad Wilkerson, Brian Schneider, Joe Smith. I'm trying to think who else is there. I know I'm missing some dudes. It's like it's a crew.
Oh no, they didn't call me.
Yes, you're too fresh out of the big leagues.
We got you. They thought you were going to still play.
I'm relatable. I'm right out of the game.
Did you ever play for Team USA?
Nope. Maybe that's why my phone doesn't ring. They don't have my number.
That. I got you.
KP, they can't have any risk that someone is too athletic still to jump back into the sport. And then they're like, we don't have a coach. You're too fresh.
Might take a job.
Fresh, man. You look good.
I do, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show. But I mean, I got a reminder that my playing days are over. I got a reminder.
Ooh, looking forward to that little teaser. Yeah, show's done in about 24 minutes, so maybe in about 20 you'll hear that from KP. Coming up next, there was a trade made yesterday, and we'll cover it for a couple minutes here on FT. Well, I'm buying stock in Lance McCullers Jr., guys. He was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers are taking on $2.5 million for the rest of the season. 4 and change getting taken on by the Astros. So this is looked at as a little bit of salary relief for a team that will hopefully use it at the trade deadline. They also do get Prince Fielder's kid, Jaden Fielder, Cecil Fielder's grandson, who was undrafted but has played well early on A-ball in the minor leagues. But let's talk about McCullers here. He had a no-trade clause. Kratz, you played with him. He's gone through a ton. He has had some legendary moments with the Astros, but he's also gone through a ton on the injury front. And even this year then went through injuries again. But he did get back on the field for the first time in a long time. Brewers want him. Brewers spending millions of dollars on him. I'm not saying Kyle Harrison is going to appear productivity-wise out of Lance McCullers Jr., but the Brewers are pitcher whisperers.
And why are they a pitcher whisperer? That's why we always ask, what does Hookie do? He just allows them to be who they are, surrounded by what they feel like makes them really good. I think the Astros do a really good job of that too. It's not like he's coming from the Angels. It's not like he's coming from the Rockies, places where teams are just devoid of any awareness of what it takes to compete successfully at the big league level. I think it's something that the Angels do know, and Lance, knowing Lance as well as I know Lance, I know his intelligence, his acumen for what he can do well is there. The difference is I think the Brewers, when he's put in the game, don't necessarily say, okay, well, we need to lean on you. We're going to try to suck another inning out of you. We're just going to get what we get, and then we're going to move on. It's not, oh, you know what? The Brewers never let pitchers pitch. Like, this is just what we do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to throw other pitchers out there, and I think that's where they'll find the value with Lance, trying to not let him be overextended, which staying healthy is Lance's biggest need. Now he's healthy this year. He's got to walk less guys. That's what it comes down to. He's got to walk less guys.
KP?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it earlier in the show. I mean, hopefully it's the start of many more dominoes to fall. I'm a pro trade deadline guy. I love seeing teams be active. Lance's time in Houston has been, just opposite ends of the spectrum. He's had some really, really great moments and some really big spots for that organization. And then he spent a lot of time on the IL there too. The fact that he was able to get back on the field this year after a couple years out is great for him. It's great for the game. It's a big risk by the Brewers. There's talks about, potentially, the Miz down the stretch, kind of limiting his innings, maybe skipping some starts. Lance McCullers isn't the epitome of health. He's not a guy that you, as an organization, are depending on him going out and making his starts every fifth day with his injury history. But he has been a very successful pitcher in this league. Kratz talked about what the Brewers do. Hopefully he gets over there. First time in a different place and a great environment in Milwaukee. I think he's going to be welcomed with open arms there. I think he's going to love his time there. They're just going to allow him to go out and be himself and not have him extend and do more than he needs to do. If he has to go in and pitch 3-4 innings, as an opener, as a starter, maybe come in and out as an opener, I think they're just going to allow him to do what Lance does, spin the crap out of the ball. And hopefully he can stay healthy, because it could be a big addition for the Brewers down the stretch. And this is a guy who's got a ton of postseason experience, a ton of World Series experience. And I think that's also the other part why they're bringing this guy in. This is a guy who's been there, done it. He knows how to get over the hump. And hopefully bringing a guy like that in your clubhouse kind of, rubs off on everyone else that's in there.
And pitching depth. I mean, Woodruff is hurt. Miz taking a little breather for a sec. Same with Kyle Harrison on the shelf. So rack up some more starting pitching. You damn need it to get through the second half, and then maybe you're able to switch something up with Lance, and he becomes, the Lance of old, or even a piece of the Lance of old for a bit of time to help the Brewers. Why are you shaking your head?
Don't expect that. Don't expect that from this move, in my opinion. They're going to extract value from it for them to put up $2.5 million. And, they also did get Caleb Gordon. I think it was Caleb Gordon.
Colton.
So Colton Gordon. I knew it was a C. Caleb didn't sound right. And you look at his numbers and you go, okay, there's not a lot there, but it's more depth. Yes. Don't expect Lance McCullers to be something that he's not been for years, but expect the Brewers to extract the most value they can out of him and his slider. But when you have a 1.5 whip, it's not like you're getting unlucky. Like, that's a very drastic number.
Mm-hmm. All curves and breakers, please. 24 in a row would be nice. Take me back.
All of them in a row.
If you know, you know. Yeah. Okay. We're going to run through first half recap awards and second half predictions, all in a little segment.
Congratulations on being in the Home Run Derby, and congratulations on the great year that you've had so far. You're healthy, off the IL. What do you hope to accomplish in the second half?
シーズンの後半戦に向けての意気込みを聞かせてください。いや、もうチームもいい状態ですし、優勝目指して頑張りたいなと思います。I mean, as a team, we're in a very good, healthy condition right now. So we're just gonna try and be better and then hope for the World Series.
Do you guys like the fact that you're kind of an underdog? Nobody gave the Chicago White Sox much credit, but look at where you are.
なんかホワイトソックスがこうどうしてもアンダードッグと言いますか、いつもこう下のチームっていう風に見られてると思うんですけど、それが有利に働いてると思いますか？いや僕たちはその記者の人たちの意見なんか気にしてないですし、はい、勝つ集団なのでうるせえと思ってます。We don't really think that we're really underdogs. I think we can prove the other teams that we're up there, and then we just have to prove ourselves, and that's pretty much it.
What was last night like for you? How was the experience?
昨日の経験どんな感じでした？いやすごくいい経験になりましたし楽しかったです。It was just a really amazing environment. I had fun.
Were you in awe of the other hitters as well?
他の選手たち見てこうびっくりされましたか？驚かれましたか？いやびっくりはしてなかったですけど楽しかったです。No, I wasn't really surprised, but yeah, it was really fun.
Enjoy this. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great freaking interview from Alanna Rizzo on the red carpet with Murakami, and it's always difficult to do with the interpreter there in the mix too. And I will say that clip went hyper viral in Japan because apparently you could construe one of his words also as like shut up to the haters. So fans loved that when she asked hey, you are an underdog story, your team is, and nobody was thinking the White Sox were going to be in the place they are now. So the way that he said it in the translation apparently could also be construed as like shut up to the haters, which people thought was really cool. So beautifully done by Alanna.
He's got good energy. Yeah, mm-hmm. I same KP.
I like him. I mean, me being a Blue Jay, homer, could have made a case for Okamoto being in the All-Star game too. But he's obviously an older player too. He's a little bit more your typical Japanese player. He's a little bit more reserved. He's monotone. His interviews are just, and they're difficult because obviously they're through a translator, but they're very monotone. They're very boring. Murakami is like, you could just kind of tell he has some swag. He's got some confidence. As he's in the States a little bit longer and he starts to understand English and speak English, he's going to be a fun player to watch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just on the scene, and he's been so good right from the jump and then missed some time just now. He's back. He participates in the Derby. He's out at the All-Star game. Great representation.
He's got that big league flow, too. Don't forget about that.
Awards and predictions of what the second half is going to look like. But first off, let's do some of the keys from the first half of the season, what we've seen so far. So, Kevin, tell me, we'll start with teams, most surprising team on the positive side and on the downside.
Okay, so I picked two teams. Most surprising teams for me, Miami Marlins and the Chicago White Sox are the most surprising team from where they're at. Both teams above 500, both playing pretty good baseball. And the most disappointing teams, I put obviously the New York Mets, and then I put the San Francisco Giants too. I thought bringing in Tony Vitello was going to be a great thing for this team. You look at their roster, they have a lot of great players there, and it just hasn't worked. And not to mention Buster Posey kind of taking over a baseball guy back in a front office position. It's just kind of been a dumpster fire there.
Spot on. I'm going to go Mets, worst team. And by far, because I'm kind of believing in this team now, the Marlins. I almost said the Nats because I didn't think they were going to win 70 games this year, but it shows that offense can win games. But, I mean, by far the Marlins are the team that I'm like, wow, like they're not just winning games. I like the kind of ball that they're playing. So that's my most surprising team.
And Kratz, right back to you. What about player-wise? And anything that has stood out on the plus or minus from the first half of the season?
On the pitching side, plus for me, I love when a guy, Foster Griffin, makes the All-Star team. Did you know who Foster Griffin was? No. Plenty of teams go, well, we'll just find somebody on the cheap over in Korea or Japan or, rarely in, played in AAA the year before, but they come over and he's not just done it with a new repertoire where he went over and he's like, oh, he figured out how to throw 100 miles an hour. He's a throwback pitcher that picked up a strikeout. I think he might even picked up 2 strikeouts in the All-Star game, and maybe it was just 1. But he has really dominated in a really, really tough division. So for me, it's Foster Griffin.
Yeah, I'll stick on the pitching side too. I put my biggest surprise. I put Louis Varland. I mean, this was a guy who the baseball world didn't really know a ton of, coming from Minnesota, getting traded over to Toronto. He kind of blossomed in the postseason. He kind of came that fireman for the Blue Jays. He was pitching all the high leverage situations, aside from actually closing out the games. Comes into the season in that same role. He's been able to take over the closer's role in Toronto. First time All Star. You can make an argument that he had the best statistics of any pitcher or reliever in baseball. And then I put biggest struggles because I kind of want to tie this back to what we did in the opening with Chase Burns. Zach Gallen. I mean, this was a guy that we were talking about being a legitimate ace, a number one, a guy you would want to pitch your first game of a postseason, a guy who's pitched multiple times on opening day, a guy who probably had at some point, and I'm not saying I know this definitively, but I'm sure at some point there was probably discussions with the Arizona Diamondbacks of keeping him there long term. He didn't sign a long term deal. This is a guy who has a 44% hard contact rate right now, a 6 ERA. It's been kind of a nightmare year and a half for him in terms of finding success. So he's kind of been a big disappointment for me this year.
And position players wise, KP, I mean, my guy, if you talk about any surprise player, you cannot not mention Jordan Walker. Like, what he's done has been awesome. Like, every other year you'd be like, whoa, yeah, this is the prospect that we think he is. He's been in the big leagues for a minute before this. I know he's still young, a very young player, but he's in the big leagues at 20. The org thought he was going to be ready to go. The org didn't, and then he's kind of just been given chances, and then he's lost his chances and then to do what he's done, to come out of the gate, to have a struggle during this season, and then recapture it. I think he's number 1 in RBIs on the year, or if not, he's at number 2. Like, it is an incredible first half, and it has been awesome to watch. He'll get MVP votes this year. Nobody's going to beat Shohei, but he'll get MVP votes this year.
Yeah, I mean, another all-star too, and I wouldn't say surprised. I changed it to the guy I'm most proud of, and it's Miguel Vargas. I got a chance to play with him when I was in AAA with the Dodgers, and he was a young kid. He's an amazing human being. He's a great teammate. He comes from pedigree of his dad being a great player in Cuba that no one's ever really heard of. I always felt like he was going to be a great Major League Baseball player. He just had the ability to hit, and you don't see that a lot at the young age. You see guys getting caught up with trying to pull homers, trying to put up big numbers, power numbers. The way he hit his batting practice, this right center approach, I'm not surprised with the success he's having. Finally, I know it took him a little bit longer than probably I even thought it was going to take him, but I'm not surprised at the success he's having. Just really proud of the player he's become.
Good pace, good answers. For the YouTube crowd during the break, we'll go over second half predictions. Hey, we're here. Let's do it. Second half predictions. We'll let the director, Gab, behind the scenes run point. Whichever board you put up, they get to go first.
Come on, Gab. Come on, Gab. Yeah, Gab's my favorite. So my second half predictions for American League Rookie of the Year, Kevin McGonigal. I feel like he's going to wrap this up unless Murakami does what he did in the first half and stays healthy the whole year. Then he might overtake him. JJ Weatherholt, I think he's going to outlast some of these other really, really good rookie class, but I think he's kind of taking it to the next level. I think Cam Schlittler should have started. No matter what my roommate John Schneider said, he should have been starting the game. Now Cam should have pitched also, but I think the Miz is going to take this all the way. I do also think that Zach Wheeler is going to give him a run for his money. Not Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler. The AL MVP, I'm only a year late with Yordan Alvarez, is going to hold off Caminero, I think Caminero's giving a really, really good run for it. Obviously, Shohei, Chalk, Will Venable, Manager of the Year for the American League. Pat Murphy, first ever 3-time winner for the National League Manager of the Year. And my predictions for the end of the season are going to be American League Central, the Guardians. American League East, the Yankees are going to overtake the Rays. The Mariners are going to win the AL West, which used to be the AL Best. Now it's the AL Least. National League East, the Braves are going to hold off the Phillies. The Central, the Brewers are going to lock that John down. And the West, that one's obviously also chalk in the Dodgers.
KP, you got 1 minute.
Yeah, no, I love this because we don't see what each other picks until now. So I'm going to skip over some of the stuff we had to say. McGonigal, yes. I love Sal Stewart. I love the combination of his power, the batting average. He's stealing bases. I think Dylan Cease is just on a heater. I think he overtakes Cam Sutler and wins the AL Cy Young. We have the same MVPs, the same NL Cy Young. Where we differ a little bit, I think the Rays go on to win the American League East. Kevin Cash wins AL Manager of the Year. The Marlins, a surprise team, and I love Clayton McCullers, one of my most favorite coaches in the minor leagues, Dodgers organization. I had him there briefly. I love what he's doing with that young group. If they're able to get a playoff spot, I think he's your Manager of the Year. Brewers, obvious. This was an interesting one for me, Kratzy. I picked the Phillies because I think the Braves ultimately are going to go on and be a playoff team. I think they're just so hurt at the starting pitching. I think they just have better pitching right now than the Seattle Mariners.
KP, what do we have here?
Okay, so this is my West Coast Baseball League 3-on-3 home run derby X style. My team happened to win the home run derby at their All-Star game. That was in Victoria, BC, that I was just at, that I just flew home from yesterday. It was a friendly reminder that I can no longer do it. I can do it for like a short stint. Like I can hit some homers, I can go make some plays, but to play for 162 games a year and have to do it every single day, those days are long gone because my right glute today is so sore from swinging the bat. I was getting jammed in BP too, Kratz. Granted, my BP thrower was throwing kind of firm, but majority of those balls that hit my bat were too close to the label. So I'm more into doing this, the coaching aspect, but every once in a while it is fun, like you did last week, Kratzy, going out and just playing one game or one event. I'm good at doing that, but it is a friendly reminder that my playing days are long gone.
Your new swing needs a torpedo bat. It's not your fault. We'll just make a bat that's manipulated to your torpedo bat.
Yeah, I mean, the torpedo bat definitely would have been useful because majority of those ball marks were down by the label. But, you know, in Kratzy fashion, I am wearing the All-Star Game hat right here. If you guys haven't been to Victoria, BC, which is on Vancouver Island, it is a place out of movies, fairy tales. Got to take a seaplane from Victoria back to Vancouver yesterday and then flew home. And that was one of the most incredible experiences that I've had with my family in a long time.
That's so awesome. And the playing back-to-back days? No, not built like that. Not built like that. It takes a mindset. When you're playing, you would never be like, I can't play again. Never did I say, I'm not playing tomorrow. Never once. It's a mindset. You'd get back into it. Easy peasy. Give you 2 months, KP. You're ready to go. This is why Team USA didn't want you to manage, because you're so close to still being able to play.
Yeah, he's too athletic. You got too much hair. There's too much going on there still, KP. You look too young. You're not ready.
You get the itch a little bit. You do get the itch a little bit, but like you said, it is a mindset. But now that my mind's been programmed that I don't have to do it anymore, you know, and there has been the potential, and like you mentioned earlier, Kratz, the opportunity to be an Olympian is everyone's dream, you know, and I do have an opportunity to play for a certain country in the Olympics. There are some steps that I have to do in order to get my citizenship. but it's a hard thing to commit to. As much as I would love to say I'm an Olympian, I just can't go out there and just go play. I have to start training and I have to commit myself. And once you kind of get out of that mindset of your everything you do in life is dedicated around when am I going to train? What am I going to eat? How am I going to work out? How many swings am I going to take? Once you finally move on from that part of your life and you actually have a little bit of freedom to do some other things, it's hard to jump back in. But I'm still undecided if I'm going to go back and try to play in the Olympics.
That team has to qualify first, KP. So that's quite a few games. Okay. That team isn't automatically in. There's only 3 teams. Since we're doing Kratz hats, kind of.
Yeah.
This is one of the teams that's already in. I heard the DR, Venezuela, and the U.S. are in, I think. Did
Correct.
I get those right?
Yes. You're right.
Yeah, because of what they did in the WBC. And that's just the ranking system. So the team that you're going to possibly play for, it's a long road to hoe. And then in 28, you're going to have to play. They're going to go and ask you, hey, we need you to play somewhere in AAA up until the season, if you guys qualify. I'm just saying, I've been there. I quit. They asked me to play. And it would have been awesome to play for the U.S.
Sounds like a lot of work.
In 2 years. The Olympics is still 2 years away.
And my son's not giving your glove back either. My son's not – no take backs, okay?
No take backs. But I do want to say one other thing real quick before we sign off. I am wearing this jersey right now. I'm rocking a Tim Raines jersey. I'm actually, when I get off this show, I got to go inside and pack. I'm actually going to Cooperstown for my first time. I'm doing a coach's clinic out there. I've never been to Cooperstown. I'm really excited to get a chance. I'm going to get a chance to go to the Hall tomorrow. And then the camp is a little bit later in the day. And I thought it was super fitting that I'd wear one of my prized possessions here, a Tim Raines Expos jersey.
That's so sick. But you've never been to Cooperstown?
Never been to Cooperstown.
You play baseball
I never played
under a rock?
I grew up in Southern California, and I didn't really play travel baseball. Wasn't a big thing, so I never got a chance. And I don't know. I've never been to Cooperstown, and this opportunity presented itself, and I was like, I have to go. No matter if I just got off a plane last night, I'm getting on another one tonight to go out there because. And then the fact that I'm going to get a chance to go walk the hall that I've never done. I'm retired. I have an appreciation for it. It's going to be an incredible experience.
Please document it for us. I know you will. I'm excited for you. I like to see when like an adult goes for the first time versus obviously a kid. It's a very different experience, both cool experiences, but I love that. Hey, 2 things on the way out. Number 1, we have a live event experience. If you're interested and you're in the area, the Philly show is going to be at Manco and Manco, devouring some incredible pizza. They'll be live with Charlie Manuel and Larry Boa as special guests in person. That's tomorrow down the shore. Zalecki, Southbury, and Amara Jr. are there for it. And coming up next, a live edition of Dodgers Territory, your faves. So we're excited for that. It's one of well over 20 shows that cover a particular team on the FT network. We love you. And FT is back on Friday. Not me, but FT.
Gab, make sure Kevin doesn't take my bat.